Today is 20 December 2023. We kind of reported yesterday the grid management offered and applied as US and European Union observed the interest was sourced at the quantification reality by measure, the foundation of concept, I would say, that is really concrete. Then we had the database Sigma as the utility as use of things quantified. We can move to holographic business model, which indeed are the arena to confirm things. And we had on present time this idea as well, data attachment and grid as management of things quantified and confirmed. We observe that the while data attached was made on the interference before got created as concept or idea. This kind of thing takes the advantage of the intelligent and the competitive intelligence of an asset. Of course, that if you got in touch with something before this thing got launched, like a perfume, for instance, Versace or something like this, you will take the most relevant element of the thing, which is called by some CAOs as the most difficult thing to have as the core business of an activity. Sometimes this kind of will uphold an entire industry. And sometimes this can help to put an entire industry on their feet again, like the values optimized to do a binary reading. We had bank events and required to complain to get seizure, the calls and things we did. We will present the accountability of the wild data attached, considering that if you are an idiot person and your mind go by cretinismos, Brazilians in general doing frauds and control instruments, of course that you wouldn't have enough neural cognition to understand the facts and circumstances that are all against Brazil and peers, organized as criminal system from institution with criminal practices based on power misuse. By this they are qualified as power misusers. The wild data attached is based on the simple relation as algebraic proportion that changed totally the monetary system on euro, the perception of discretionary debits in USA that has a limit of freedom but not absolute freedom. If you go beyond, you probably is something that will be wrong. As a wrongdoing, you have no capacity to do the transparency and the accountability about the decisions made. The decisions can point centers of interest, and the counterfeit can do the conformance by fake records and judicial orders as activism or lobby at the creation of law, but also threat the major defense of United States and Europe by the IoT, cloning instruments that has as a need the static behavior of the IDs and of machines. And the institutional decision with fake record feeding the indictment or the evidence that are fraudulent, indeed are misguiding also the audit was created, for instance, a law in Brazil saying that the audit must do the conformance of things. The audit, it's not about this, for sure, and it's not for Brazil. We will have that the institutional decision and the division of this humble project by issues go as debit and credit and monetary policies, election and frauds and records and departments, IoT, power misuse as corruption. We will carry also the piracy, investment saving liquidity money for criminal purpose unveiled by piracy, counterfeit, as fake currency, and we have this by the 40 trillion storage for judicial research and more prison, considering the illicit storage that carry the entire workflow as illegal activity or criminal activity not held in a transcontinental level, operated locally with protection of local departments. They are all linked as transnational organized crime. As reference the Brazilian law 12,850, Article 1 and 2 says that you can have the application of the international law even in Brazil, and we will have the Article 4, clause number 9 about the Constitution that says the Brazil as Republic has the commitment with the development of mankind, but doing the suppression of rights and conspiracy and conjuring against guarantees as observed and experienced by this individual, this researcher, creditor, and interest. Of course, that all things are a big lie, and was proved by payments made on departments in Brazil as subsidiary record or criminal records that indeed worth nothing, changing the circumstance of crimes perpetrated or in the near future to protect the criminals that will do more crimes and commit more criminal practice by current hands-on present time acting freely at this architecture as criminal architecture. We require to have them on emphasis today to present their reasons by law about the criminal use and the power misuse for criminal purpose on institutions and states, domestic or international, acting locally as local criminal activity at the transnational organized crime, or international activity locally perpetrating aggressions against basic rights and guarantees, and be associated as solidarity at this kind of conspiracy and conjuring, which is a treasonous acts in Brazil. Then we move it from counterfeit to fake data as the angle stone of this kind of thing. Of course, that the limited perception of this crime system that is ruled by ignorance, violence, and cretinismus as the mental model as neuroarchitecture, we'll consider that the wild data task is put someone attached in a chair to press a button as a stimulation to get a heroin shot injected, compared with the monkey, until got the solution and the comparative measurement, just which is the animal. But indeed, this is the UK breed, as suggestion departure from Ministry of Sounds to understand the rules of the game. If you are pandemic criminal, you can go down pandemic anywhere, including the neutral area jurisdiction, by aggressions and threats against mankind. Of course, that if this got validated or confirmed, there will be no problem in do things this way. The idea is like this: same offenders, lifelong chairs, blind eye, and do the comparative measurement. The grid and the wild data task as something more precise will allow to do this kind of thing. Comparative grid as matrix management, that are arrays as component of the system, embedded system notation as individual chair until the entire thing is proved against Brazil and peers as criminal purpose. First question, repeating: who creates the law is representing the people, and in the same way apply the power or something like this. Do we have satisfaction of rights and new law about issues not satisfied? Which is the relation of not satisfied right and creation of new law against the same right? Prepare more instability, or such crisis, because we experience and complaining this all around the globe. Blind eye, criminal association, conviction requested of all, the rational architecture as sage optimized by optimizing the sage as the semi-automatic ground environment, as the holographic cube that you got inside to be debugged by tree notation as functional composition that sets the expression of the will, viced, corrupted, and under dependence, collinear by simulation on drugs, by this the test as heroin, and the corruption and crimes. All resources misused, all institutions at this by misusers at department, and now misuses going as power misuse. By this, we are confirming the accusation as corruption and the period of crimes with criminal association and transnational organized crime, leading and confirming the liquidity money investment saving curve. The cognitive bias goes by the hands that do the records and didn't got dismissed. It's the functional level of corruption, violating rights and guarantees, and it's also industrial crime by trying to steal data or indeed stealing data before the concept as industrial concept or core business got formed. The corruption in an international way when you try to offer this as a black market of information and advantage by insider trading or privilege. It's enough reason to put you all on a trial in United States or Europe by insider trade and conflict of interest. How can the regular architecture of power have tolerance such more than 10 years with criminals inside internationally complained without the conflict of interest? By this you need fake records. Was observed that the consume, COVID and others. And the fourth accusation was about the trust and finally the power misuses. Then we will have today something quite simple, which is the idea as Cognos. The IBM Cognos is an application, I would say, available, and it's basically applied to have the hierarchical list of randomized things. But since, and we'll present as the sales force or something like this, can be the capacity as labor force, deliver the result expected, but can be, have much more things to add this. As a stakeholder, we will present something in the way we suggested with the agents on it, having things in the way we did in the past. We will observe that my instrument is embedded with a lot of things as small pieces of those instruments. In general, the first interference by remote proximity go very nearby by the limited range. In general, the Bluetooth and the connective, and when you corrupted this, you corrupted you do the corrupted interconnected of this instrument. Indeed, you put this situation here, and then you put the range of corrupted interconnected, spreading the signal all around, linked with others, and this is making something kind of as a counting principle. By factorization, we got the root at the instrument, the company, and the interest affected. It's the case of Microsoft and Google. This instrument in general has another thing here, which is an ID that is something very specific in each component of this instrument, including the login you do at the internet. And you can have all components by remote interference modified, and in general will be the ID you have as you, but now cloned and engulfing your instrument, and will be linked at the source of signal that also has cloned by interference as poisoned DNS as observed, for instance, on Google in a tiny city, for instance. Then you will have your instrument cloned at this, and also the cloned instrument with possibility to be logged at the real situation, having the simulation of use as you, and passing through the DNS. Then we will have the combination as this at this model here, as you can observe at this relation as proportion by data and range. The idea as Cognos is quite simple, because the Cognos do the reading of your applications and things will randomize, do the reverse operation, will randomize the IDs and a cycle inside the period. This is the period of connection you have, time. And the ID in general is linked with your location. Both give me the idea as IOP. Must be very accurate and precise, especially if you need, for instance, Uber or instruments or delivery service by the applications. But also is a military defense. And by the kind of behavior Brazil doing all things, of course that will misguide this for criminal purpose. In the same way, the poisoning DNS is very similar to the Kubernetes, but now use it for criminal purpose. The Cognos will randomize and put kind of aleatory as a frequency on time the ID of your machine, that will change all the time, and make sure that the static reference of your instrument after got cloned will not gonna be possible anymore. And then you will try to do both in the way we are doing, for instance, the interference of this effort, and by this on Blazing Act as industrial espionage. Right? Have a great day, holidays, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. 40 trillions for judicial storage, 12 billion cases as harassment since 1999, plus economic espionage, 2 billions as my complaint, 10 billions as interest. The 40 trillion flowing as 1% of first 3 trillion, with internal condition as anti-crime, purpose and budget, feeding the punch card as investment system against the crime, research in real business, not linked with the organized crime that will be supported. You need money, you have money, but you must have the good faith and the commitment as be not a criminal. If you are a criminal trying to get this money, you'll be sent to jail, and it's kind of operated as a negotiable instrument. We use this all the time to reduce the possibility and facilities offered from corrupted institutions all around for criminal groups that indeed pointed that there are no institutions available able to do a decision on present time against the organized crime without being hurt by this. And by this we created this moral entity and credit that did all this as self-determination against the crime. Even Brazil and peers trying to put all things wrong. And by this kind of thing is very near to defamation or something like this, setting the misperception of concepts made at misconcept, and in general misguiding everything for criminal purpose, or the bias needed to do the confusion and allow the excuse to do not be convicted by fake records, as we observed on local departments all the time, and the lenient behavior of the internal control and the prosecution, supporting not hurt the organized crime by dripped information, and the judicial power offered and the creation of law or government as executive power that trade the sovereignty of the people by the conjuring and conspiracy against rights, and always start at this, violating the Constitution and the international agreements as complained at the United Nations in the International Criminal Court, by violation, for instance, of privacy, which is essential basic rights confirmed at the Declaration of Human Rights. Right, Brazil? Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for the people normal. Cretinism is a mental disease and the neural network of this crap criminal system. Have a great day.